ladies and gentlemen, boys and berries. How you doing? This is MagicBrad here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And today I've got a guest, and he works with children. And I'm always interested in that kind of thing because they say kids are our future. And it's true, man, because that's what's going to change the world. So when I get old and gray, if I ever do, I want to be able to take care of our kids so they can take care of me. Kind of selfish, isn't it? So let's go get our friend Craig Polk. Is he there somewhere? Get in the. There he is. Good day,
Hey,
Craig.
I'm glad you heard my knocking as I came in through the door over here. It was a little
Kids
tight,
room.
but I made it.
I had
Yeah,
to do that.
it's definitely true. Kids are our future, right? And I don't really think it's selfish reason. You got to kind of look at it as more of a society benefit, right? You're in society, they're in society. We all work together. We, focus on an impact that everybody can benefit.
I'm in the digital marketing space now. I used to be in entertainment. I still gig once in a while as a magician. Then I got into events, and then I started this digital marketing thing. And there was a guy that was doing this with me, and he was trying to get kids to understand the internet and marketing and making money on the internet. And he did like a lemonade contest, how to make a lemonade stand. And you had a
Hmm.
contest, and whoever got the most creative with their flyers and their signage and the display and how they did the cups and it was pretty interesting getting these kids getting creative thinking about the positioning and posturing of things.
Yeah, that's definitely true, and we see some companies that picked up on that and how they try to teach kids that on how placement and marketing is very important. We'll take an example that's kind of near and dear to my heart because it's a program that I volunteer with, and I also like them because I get cookies every year. So I'm talking about the Girl Scouts, right?
Okay, yeah.
So actually, before the pandemic, the Girl Scouts were partnering with this company you may have heard of before called Dell, right? Where they were bringing like these new IT and online experiences. And one of the things they were doing was the cookie shop. And so they were moving and to kind of like an online market space. And they were having these different sessions with the girls, trying to tie it in with their entrepreneurial programs and some of the lessons because my daughter attended one. So she's in a scout troop over here in North Jersey, and they showed about, okay, well, what kind of picture do you want? Where do you want to place this? What makes more sense? They talked about like some of these things that they mentioned in my MBA program,
Yeah.
which I thought was kind of like interesting. Like when they talked about like eye movement, where how people sometimes are trained to look up left, so sometimes you may want to position things there. Like what's your best logo? Do you want a logo? Do you want a picture? What's the takeaway? And try to think about like these different positioning styles on your seller's page. And I thought that was really interesting, just like sitting in the background, hearing some of the things they were telling 10-year-olds to think about when they're making their like online cookie sales.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize all that thing, like the psychological aspects of when someone's looking up versus looking down, with whether they're in the decision making process or a research process. All
Hmm.
those things make a difference. Well, that's pretty cool. So I want to talk right about what the organization you're in. Let me pop this thing up here. It's Kids in Cleats. You mean wearing cleats, right?
Yeah, it's that's kind of how we started. So we are a nonprofit that's based out of New York and New Jersey. So we're federal 501(c)(3). Our mission is to build communities one soccer player at a time. And depending on what country I'm talking to, sometimes we have to change that model a little bit, and we're building football players
Right.
one at a time, right? In U.S., we like how we just invented this word soccer to kind of make it our own. But what we do, we've been an organization since 2014, and we got our nonprofit status in 2019. And we really just started out as collecting cleats, right? Because our founder is from Cameroon, and the economic difference between there and here, it's worlds apart, right?
Right.
So and their soccer or football is like a way of life. Kids will play it, any type of weather, any type of conditions, you know shoes, no shoes, shoes with holes in them. So we started out really simply with just collecting cleats and shipping them over there. And then through the years we've evolved into bringing education and now having focus on digital divide and trying to build up the community with all of the things that you need to raise a player. So it's been an interesting kind of journey from where we started to the like 5 years, and as we've gone through these recent years in the pandemic.
Is that the mission of Kids on Cleats in Cleats then, is to help them with the sports, or is there other things in your mission?
Yeah, so our main mission, building community one soccer player at a time, is to educate these kids in three primary ways, right? So because soccer is such, way of life there, we use that as a way to get in because it focuses the attention of the kids. They all
Sure.
play it, they all love it, so we do education training through sports, which includes team building and team working, understanding the importance of social and emotional development, right? Because you have to grow up and you have to deal with people, right? You got to be around people, you got to communicate in some way, form or fashion, either if it's through sports or education or work. And then the third component of that is really pure education, right? Where we look to close this digital gap in education in parts of in Africa. And what I mean by that is, we had some of our people go over there because they were like auditing a classroom. And one of our main focuses is on helping kids learn computer skills and software skills, coding, but also just simpler things, like how to use a word processor, how to use Excel, how do you use Google, right? How do you do an internet search? What does the internet mean? So some things that are really basic that our kids take for granted here because they're like born holding like iPhones or
Right.
Androids at like day one. So like a huge percentage of kids in the US, I think it's something like over 70% have access to digital communication at any form in time. And if we compare that to Africa, I think it's close to like 10 or 11%. So it's a huge difference between what the kids have here and have there.
Mhm.
And so what we do is we partner with programs to try to bring different education into their lives, and we do that by building structures, upgrading facilities that are already there, partnering with other programs in Cameroon, such as like municipal or pre-university, which is really like high school and middle school over here, so that we're able to kind of bring our mission of everything that a kid needs as they grow from like a player to an adult, and what the community needs to be able to support them.
So do you bring the teachers over there, or do you bring the students over here, or both?
So actually, a lot of it is done virtually.
Okay.
So our program, what we have is it's called right now it's in Cameroon, so it's the Cameroon Connectivity Project, and we have IT equipment, computers, Wi-Fi, network switches, things like that that we set over there, and we have a small workforce over there that helps us with our IT and our soccer coaching, and they primarily just help the kids like connect, right? Because we had one teacher, prior to we had this program when we were doing our audit, so I should jump back to that story because I forgot to complete it, where we said, "Oh, you guys have a computer class in here." We saw it like on their list of things we were going to see, and we're like, "That's awesome. We want to see that. How do you teach computer to the youth in Cameroon?" So first, they started talking about Windows 7, which is like kind of old for a lot of us here that are on 10 or 11, and they just had a chalkboard and they were drawing pictures of, this is what a screen looks like, here's the keyboard down here. And so they explained the whole inner workings of a computer on a chalkboard. And then at the end, when we talked to the teacher that was giving it, we asked, how many times do you use a computer? And they're like, oh, probably like once or twice. And we're like, oh, that's not bad a day. And they're like, oh no, that's a month. So the person who's giving the instruction, had a big gap in how much they used um, these things that we use like every minute that we can't like
Right.
separate from. I start having anxiety if somebody's like, give me your phone, and they take it away. But so we're like, oh wow, this is a big problem, this is something we can focus on. So we were able to get them equipment, we're working through all network connectivity, and then so we have teachers here that either do things through live video uh, uh, programs and offerings. We have recorded videos that they can see. We also partner with some other nonprofits in education and provide things like links, even something as basic as links that they don't know about, right? Where you can get access to things like PBS or some things like Try Engineering, or there are a lot of, on the U.S. education gov sites where there are these free things that a lot of our kids don't like to use because they're like, oh, this is crazy. I did this when I was like 5. But this is all brand new to them, and
Right.
it's all, very exciting, and it brings in a level of education that was never even possible before in the areas that we're working.
So they're even excited playing Pong. Remember Pong?
Yeah, yeah. That's you actually hear the kids sometimes where they ask we had one thing because power is a big problem over there, and of course, internet is a big problem over there. Most of their power actually comes from solar, right? Because they don't have like the grid system that we have, and Africa didn't go through what's like the telephone and the cable boom of what happened in the US, right? So a lot of their stuff is through wireless. So the connection spotty sometimes. It's not
Right.
as good. It's expensive to get over there, so a lot of people don't have it. So there's a lot of tough business cases of where they're going to put wireless signals, and that's where a lot of the internet is. So sometimes I should say it's pretty common for the internet to drop as we're building up these networks, and they love playing the dinosaur game, right? On Google. And when so when you can't connect, you get that little dinosaur that he's got to jump over cactuses. And they're like, "Oh, this is my favorite game, but I got on the internet and I have problems finding it." And we had to explain to them, "Oh no, that's some default thing. When you can't connect to the internet, it just comes up. It's like a basic. You just hit the space bar to jump, and they're like, "This is my favorite game."
That's kind of funny. So do you send equipment and stuff over there too?
Yeah, so we send equipment over there. So every
Wow.
year we have IT equipment that goes over there.
That's a
So
quite a
this,
leap from shoes to computer equipment.
yes, yeah. So we went from collecting cleats to collecting IT equipment, and we had a pretty good network of like donation network set up because of just contacting businesses and sporting communities that were supplying. We moved from cleats into jerseys. Into like soccer balls and other equipment that you need to be able to provide this, and then we started talking to some of the businesses, and they said things like, oh yeah, well, we upgrade computers every like 2 or 3 years. And we found doing some of our research with the education partners that we had, that they go through this constant refreshing, right, of either
Mhm.
Chromebooks or laptops, and it's usually on a 3 or 4 year cycle. And sadly, a lot of these things, the recycling programs around them are not really great, right? So a lot of the stuff is going to end up in the landfill. And we found an opportunity where we can either have these materials donated or purchased. And some of the companies are like, oh, this is a 5-year-old laptop. You're not going to want this. This is horrible. Nobody would do it. And then we try and we explain to them, oh, well, their other laptop is a chalkboard. So this is leaps and bounds better. If this thing takes 30 minutes to turn on because it's 5, 6, 7 years old, that's amazing for them. So
Right.
we've been able to collect equipment like that, and we bring it over every year when we do our August tournament. We have like an August soccer tournament, which brings in our kids, and then that's like the start of our new academic year.
So you might have said this already, but how long has this organization been active?
So yeah, we started in 2014, and 2019 was when we were officially recognized as a nonprofit. And around 2019 is when we started doing our transition from really just providing things into the community to actually being more involved. So that's when we did things like we purchased land for a possible future school. Right now we have a soccer field on that land. That's where we hold like our clinics. So we've gone from a small program that was about like 5 to 10 kids, and that this year we're up at 78. So we have 78
Wow.
kids that go through our are going through our program this year, and we provide local coaches, part of our staffing, that they teach them about soccer and they teach them about the importance of teamwork and social skill building, right? And then we're partnering with some of the municipalities, like the library, for example, and we're helping get like computer equipment and computer connectivity in the library or in the municipal meeting hall.
So this is right now, it's just in primarily that one community,
Right now, it's in that one community,
and there's
and
plans to expand, is there?
yes, so our plan is to expand. So we kind of like have this nice package that we've kind of developed to be able to grow this in almost um, a franchising model. I guess is kind of a good way if we want to compare it to McDonald's or something. And so right now we're targeting not don't compare it to McDonald's. So we're in this nice distribution model of expanding, and what we do is we grow site by site, right? So we're in our specific location, and we're just like starting to fan out and get bigger and bigger, and we're identifying, like this year what we're doing is we're identifying our pre-university partners. And so, for the people in the States that may not know what that means, that because the education terms are just different, which was something that I learned when I joined this organization, right? So the whole concept of, elementary, middle, high school is not really there. Like those names are not used. So you really have a dividing between college and university, which is your university. And then anything prior to that is just pre-U or pre-university. So we're looking into what would be the equivalent of high schools and middle schools in the United States, and we're seeing which ones have need for things like, oh well, they don't have power, right? Like, so here's a school that has X amount of kids, they have no power. They come during the day. It's not a problem because they don't really need power for the things that they do, or they have power on a very limited basis, like maybe an hour or maybe a couple hours a day, and that's it. So we're like, okay, well, how do we bring in some of this cool technology like solar power to be able to connect the internet and do things like charge laptops for them? And so that
Sure.
when they come in, they can have like these sessions on, hey, this is a computer, this is what I do. Our computers have some learning games and things that are installed on them by default, so they can, even without internet connection, if it goes down during any specific lesson, there's like backup contingencies put in where they can still learn stuff, they can still have
Sure.
access, they can work on their typing. And so we're identifying more and more schools, and we're hoping to grow every year.
Well, after I said, I shook my head at the McDonald's thing, I just realized that I read an article about it was talking about they don't have the greatest hamburger. It isn't gourmet food, but their model is really more about real estate,
Hmm.
and their mission is happiness. So I can see how what you're doing there, your mission's more of a love kind of thing that you could modularly duplicate and replicate and franchise all that stuff out. And it would be real estate. You're finding properties and being able to, you know, do the like a soccer field here and a soccer field there and a soccer. You start growing out, and why not have golden cleats instead of arches?
That's a great idea. I didn't even think about that. We could start keeping a tally of how many served have like big golden cleats hanging up in like a V shape or
I
something.
do
But
that.
yeah,
Over 100,000 cleats served. Yes.
but that's why I use the McDonald's reference to that, because a lot of it is about location, 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 and several of the I want to say when we first started out and we were looking at things, a lot of the focus was around, okay, well, we need to build a new facility. It's got to be from the ground. It's got to be all high tech, all of this stuff. But at least. And you do see that in parts of Africa, and it is kind of common. So I think one of the things that separated us was we kind of like looked at it and said, well, this facility really only supports this area, right?
Mhm.
And you'll have people that'll like come in and then they'll kind of flock to this area, and then you'll build up that area. But we kind of saw it as two issues with that. One, it was kind of limited in how much exposure you can get, how much impact you can have one immediately. And along with that was, okay, the speed of which you have to do something is delayed, right? So going through all of this construction and bringing things in, getting your classes, getting teachers there that could actually teach in the new location and facility, it's all time consuming. And so we saw, a several year window where it was going to take that to be accomplished. And here we're able to go in an area in, like, say, 3 to 6 months that already has kids, already has teachers, already has buildings, they have facilities. They're just not as modern. And we have different um, minimal solutions or different levels of solutions that can go into a specific area. And we have a real quick turn up time where we can get kids doing things and get interested and get involved. And I think um, in the long run, I think that's beneficial because you're hitting different spots. And it's kind of like, when you drop like several glasses of water, right? They're eventually all going to pool together, right? But if you just have like a pitcher and you're just pouring in one spot to get to everywhere, it's you got to really wait. And then the kids that are way way far, they have to wait the longest. But here, if you drop a little glass over there, and it may not be as good as your um, initial and your first one, which has grown over like a couple years, but they get something, right?
Right.
And so 20% is better than zero.
Got it. Well, what's your ask then there? You're looking for donations primarily, right?
Yeah. So
Okay.
our organization is mostly donor and fundraising ran, is powered, I should say. So we have three primary ways where or I should say four primary ways where we kind of like run this. One is like our fundraising that we do through our website that's up there on kidsincleats.org. People are able to donate directly through the website. We do hold some events. That are kind of like soccer clinics and soccer type fun events,
Mhm.
but that's usually around like 10 to 20% of our income. um, then we have corporate sponsorships where we part of our other fundraising is where we'll partner with different companies that are interested in donating either through donations or grants, right? And then that's how we'll kind of make the whole everything to come together and be able to facilitate and complete these programs that we offer.
Okay. Got it. Well, this has been very interesting. I'm always surprised at the different kinds of people that I interview for different reasons. Who would have thought that you start collecting soccer shoes and where it all grows to? So I'm going to put you back in the green room. I appreciate you taking the time, but that's how they can do. They can go to kidsincleats.org,
Yep.
and then there's a little donation button
Right.
up there if they want to do that, or if they want to just maybe participate, volunteer, help out, any way to grow it, right?
Yeah, if they want to reach out to us, they can always email us at info@kidsincleats.org. We're always looking for volunteers, either through our adult volunteer program or through our young ambassador program. They could find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and reach us through that as well. So thanks so much for having me on the
Okay.
show. I love talking about the impact that education has not only here in the United States but also across the whole globe.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time, Craig. I'm going to pop you into the green room. There are some digital hors d'oeuvres in there. We had someone go in and refresh it all so you can have some of our low calorie digital hors d'oeuvres.
That's perfect.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it, Mr. Craig Polk. He's with an organization called kidsincleats.org. That's how you find it right there, kidsincleats.org. And if you want to know where the domain is, it's right there. Obvious. They're looking for people that volunteer, help out, donate, all that sort of thing. You just go to that website and you can connect with them there. So that's all for now. And appreciate you guys taking the time. Peace, love, and happiness. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be good, be kind, be nice.